Can the police, for instance, write to the SCTA to say, this is what we've noticed is causing insecurity in this area? Is it possible to have some form of lighting, you know, along this area in the meantime? Or if it's not possible, maybe the communities can then intervene?
That's where they engage. That's where the discussion comes in. That's why I said that if you now look at the solutions and then you look at how do we ensure that the solutions, we achieve the solutions.
But what I'm saying is the police hasn't even taken the first step.
No, we're not sure about that, and I'm not holding brief for them. But having engaged with them over time, you also see a scenario where some of the things they put forward are treated with disdain. So you now ask, where is the role of the community in also coming up to team up with the police? And at times, the community would stand a greater chance of getting a response than the police. So the Residents Association along that route, the estate developers along that route, have they put up a letter? Have they joined with, do you understand, teamed up with the police? That's the cooperation and collaboration at the lower level that now translates to improved service delivery, quote and unquote. And then for us as Nigerians, then we can say the lights have been put up, the road is good, and yet we're still having issues. Then we can now talk of capacity. Then we can task the police.
In the place where the police itself has suffered casualties, shouldn't they be more proactive in terms of, you know, pushing forward some of the things? I mean, when you have suffered losses, do you think that your letter will be treated with disdain in that kind of situation?
Well, it's expected not to, you know, but then again, we are also in a system where things don't add up. We see, like I said, it's a knee-jerk approach. So they're on this for a while, and then other things come up, and then they go on, you know, and then they move on to other things. So, for example, I heard one of the last panelists talk about ratio of manpower to citizen, and I'm one of the person of the school of thought, are we still supposed to be talking about ratio of manpower to citizen, or are we supposed to be looking at adoption of technology to assist us? So when that incident happened, was there any CCTV at any of those crucial points that could assist? The answer is no. So how are we deploying technology, deploying other means of resources to ensuring effective policing?
You live in the Federal Capital Territory, I'm assuming, I don't know. But you have seen, if you do live in the Federal Capital Territory or visited and looked around, you might have noticed that there was an attempt to put up CCTV cameras. Should we not be asking what, you know, what were the challenges in trying to deploy those cameras? Because I don't think it is
That's the accountability.
Working anymore.
That's the accountability.
Some of
Did
them
it
have
work?
been pulled down. Some of them have been stolen.
Yes. So the question, how do you steal a CCTV camera? Okay. If a CCTV camera is working, who has the audacity to steal a CCTV camera? Because ideally, it should be recording somewhere, right? So
people who know that
they're not working.
They're not boots on the ground
Yes.
to ensure that they're caught while it's been stolen.
Yeah.
So while you are putting up cameras and you have the technology, you can watch everybody and see what is going on. You also must have boots on the ground to respond where it is that, you know, security is being breached. Shouldn't you?
Yeah. And then the other element of it is to track people without boots on the ground.
Very true.
Yeah. So you see that's why I keep stressing, it's a whole of government approach. It's a whole of change in our psyche, in the way we do things. And you find that one thing is still linked to the other. So when we say, can we track individuals, can we track people, it speaks to our data system. And our data management system keeps coming up over and over again, which our data management system is poor, so planning is poor overall. And then it affects different segments of our society, including policing.
I'm going to come to you, talk about optimism. I mean, from when you said that the thing, we've had it in our system since 2007 and employed in an ad hoc manner. We'll come to that discussion in a bit, but let's quickly take this question from Ayo.
Is this thing that we have seen in a number of states including Plateau, which you mentioned the other time, some of these states have some form of community policing, which they call neighborhood watch, vigilance groups, and the rest of it. How does this differ from what the federal government is coming up with now?
Neighborhood watch group, vigilante groups, community watch groups, call them any name, ways that which states have attempted to respond to implementing community policing. So across the country, I would say, you would see the makeup of what I'd like to term informal policing groups, which are like, some of us would term them as self-help mechanisms that come up within the community to address their public safety security issues. We're also aware that in some states, there are state edicts that have institutionalized some of this makeup. So the question you ask, which is why I said that, is state policing automatically community policing? So in the states where you have the edicts that have set up neighborhood watch group, that have set up community watch group or community watchers, do those groups engage with the community to identify what the issues are and responding in a whole of system approach? The answer is no. What you also find is another layer of a policing system that would say the beauty in them is that they are closer to the community and they seem to know who and who is in the community. So we can't, I won't say throw away the baby with the bathwater. So that shows an element of knowing and familiarity with the environment, which the formal policing groups do not necessarily have. Because most times you're not posted to your community. Most times you're in a community that you're not familiar with, and it takes time for you to be familiarized. One of the things that has happened over time is that in some states, what you find is that the formal policing groups layer on this neighborhood watch groups and community watchers, and they serve as like boots on the ground or access to information.
Let me ask you this. Are you optimistic about, the words of the IG now that he says that the president has approved the use of community policing? Does it inspire any optimism in you, considering the fact that this has been there since 2007?
It's not magic, and it's not rocket science. It doesn't mean once it's approved, it's going to work. And my optimism, I'll say it's a bit limited, is the fact that it's still on the table. And then the next thing is, how do we move forward? Because, I mean, different people have talked about it, different administrations have tried to implement. Will the police look back a bit and look at attempts that have been made in implementing it and what went wrong, rather than reinventing the wheel all over again? Do a bit of lessons learning and then a bit of adaptation. Because one of the things I see is that even with support from development partners, when they come to us at times, we take everything that is given to us without contextualizing it to our own situation and trying to own it and making it sustainable, so that if the support moves out of it, we are able to go on with it. We have structures in place. And the structures, the traditional rural structure, yes, but they're not the only ones. Yeah, they're not the only ones. The schools have to be involved. The health facilities have to be involved. Health facilities, for example, a mandate on protection and reporting. So you see a child, a woman, a man that comes in with certain bruises. Do you report to say, I suspect this, and then calling the police to come? And do you understand? That's why my optimistic is limited. I'd love to see it go we move beyond what we have been saying over the past 16 years, which is community forums, yes. Traditional rulers, yes. But what about the other stakeholders? Where's the role of the National Assembly in all of this? Where's the role of the oversight agencies in all of this? Even the executive also putting their money where their mouth is to ensure that the average man on the street, some of us that work within the sector, start to see tangibles of improved service delivery, enhanced accountability, proactive communication. Not that you talk down at us or you give us information when you feel like giving us information, but the information is consistently in the public space and it's accessible. And when we give information, our confidentiality in the process of information given, you know, that there's no backlash. Those are the kind of things we want to see.
But it'll be interesting to hear the thoughts of the Inspector General on this one, as to how it's going to be implemented, what people can look forward to, what role the ordinary, because if it's community policing, we all live in communities, and I'm sure that people would like to be part of the security arrangements, especially with things deteriorating around us. But we have to thank you, kindly, for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. Kemi Okenyudu is Executive Director, Partners West Africa. And that's been the program from Abuja this morning on Sunrise Daily. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun-Yusuf.
Thank you for watching as well. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
I'm Jimba Umar.
I am Akinde here saying, have a wonderful day.